And that's a wrap. Happy New Year. We're finished with 2022. We're done. It was a massive year for powerlifting. There are a lot of stupidly big lifts, and the sport, as we know, is always growing at a tremendous rate. Before we move forward, I want to reflect on my 5 favorite lifts from 2022 from all different lifters. They're not in any particular order, except number 1, which will probably be my favorite lift for a very long time. Some of these might surprise you, some of them won't. I don't have any insider secrets for big lifts that were done in private, but it is fun to reflect on these stupidly strong people. Now, this one will probably surprise you. One of my favorite lifts of the year was Daniel Zamini benching 365 kilos. 804 pounds. I love everything about this guy and the gym he lifts in. The music, the team, the intensity, they're slapping each other, they're yelling. It's insane. Now, why do I say this is going to be surprising? Well, there's a lot of questions about whether this guy uses real weights or not. They are rip-off Eleiko plates, and the old ones used to be Alexo or something like that. And as you know, Iran has a lot of sanctions on it. So his ability to access traditional Eleiko plates and everything is going to be limited. The way this guy manhandles over 800 pounds on the bench is just stupid. Like the speed down on the eccentric, there's no hesitation. Pause is legit, and he just rockets through. Like when I first saw this, I think I just sat there staring at my phone for a good 10 or 20 seconds, being like, what the hell did I just witness? It's insane. So this is definitely one of my favorite lifts, not even from just last year, but ever. Now we've got Hunter Henderson. Next up, we've got Hunter Henderson with a 305 kilo squat. She competes in the 82.5 kilo class, and this is just a stupid amount of weight. Something I love about Hunter is her intensity when she's lifting. If you follow her on Insta, you know she gets a lot of hate for peeing herself when she's deadlifting and squatting and things like that. But she doesn't care. She's all focused, and she's just there to execute and lift these absurd numbers. Nobody in the gym seems to care. Now, when you've been in the sport for a fair while, you know that's just a part of it for a lot of people. If you've never seen it before, you probably haven't hung around with a lot of powerlifters or been to many powerlifting gyms. It's never a really big deal. You just clean it up and go on with your session. The way Hunter just composes herself, like I said, she's all work. There's no hesitation here. And you'll notice that with all these big lifters, like I said with Daniel Zamini, like they just execute. They don't wait. They don't look nervous. They unrack the weight and they move it like they're moving 50%. That's something that a lot of people need to learn how to do because it is a skill. When you unrack something as heavy as this and you're just like, fuck it, I'm just going to send it, that's when you will notice a real difference in the way you move your 1-rep maxes. If you hesitate, you're under the load for longer, and you start to do stupid shit like throw your hips back early, break weird. There's a lot of things you can do wrong. So learning to trust that your body knows what to do is a really important skill to develop, and it just takes time. You don't want to sit there for 20 seconds under a 1-rep max because you're scared. Now, this next one is actually someone I'll be competing against this year in October. Dan Grigsby with 487.5 kilo deadlift. The numbers this guy is pulling are stupid. We had a few big deadlifters in the talk for a while. Jamal Browner, Mr. Deadlift, his name always escapes me. He's Polish, right? And then out of nowhere, Dan Grigsby comes in and just starts pulling these ridiculous weights. Now, I use that term loosely, out of nowhere. He's been training for a very long time and he's been lifting heavy for a very long time. But it just seems like in the past year or two, the numbers he is lifting consistently ramped up ridiculously fast, and he's just stamped his name in the record books. All of the lifts we're looking at today are all-time world records if they're done in competition. But the way Dan moves this without any effort, like he's just picking up a can of Coke or a box of Coke off the floor, astounds me. His setup is just perfect. Look at that. He locks it in, no hesitation, big brace, and just yoinks it. Like I said, big yoink, big dog. Literally just manhandled 487 kilos like it's nothing. So everything from this lift is just effortless. Like the way he sets up, look at that. He just grabs the bar, makes sure his hook's set, doesn't overthink it, and then just yanks the hell out of it and stands up like it's effortless. Like I don't think I've ever seen an all-time world record be broken this easily and by this large of a margin as well. He didn't just chip the world record. I think he's set it by like 50 plus kilos in the last year. As in he's done it, then he's reset it multiple times. He's above and beyond the competition. Our only hope is that his squat doesn't catch up to his deadlift, because then the man's going to be the all-time world record holder without any competition. I just realized this next one is the only tested lifter on this list. But we've got Jessica Buettner with 261.5 kilo deadlift at under 76 kilos. Jessica's been in the IPF for a very long time, and she's won more competitions than I can count. She consistently just shows up and dominates the competition. She has gone up a weight class, which is good because I do think she missed weight a couple years ago, and she used to have to get really ridiculously lean to compete at under 72 kilos. Now this year, there are a couple of big lifters that went up a weight class and set huge PBs, which should tell you all you need to know. There's no point limiting yourself in a lighter weight class, doing excessive cuts, if your top end strength is going to be impacted so much. We see it here with Jessica. We saw it with Russell Orhe, who just went close to 900 kilos because he went up a weight class. Like, that dude is just way too big to be competing at under 83 kilos. Jessica is way too tall and way too stacked to be cutting to what she used to compete at. And here, the proof's in the pudding. Look at this, 261.5 kilos. Now, I'm not going to say it was easy, but it was a solid deadlift, and there were no questions. Like, the moment that started moving, you know she had it. And look at that. I love the celebration from her, like the passion there, the emotion. You know she was waiting for that one for a long time. I was stoked watching this. I watched this live and I just couldn't be happier for it. And last, but certainly not least, very cliche answer, but is Joh Haack with his 272.5 kilo bench at under 100 kilos. We are witnessing probably the greatest powerlifter ever, at least in my opinion, come through and compete right now. I don't know when he's going to call it, but he keeps milking these kilos out of his total, and there just seems to be no end to his progression. This guy is benching almost 3 times body weight. He's benching 2.7 times body weight. A lot of people don't like body weight multipliers and that, but that is so stupidly impressive. The thing with Joh Haack is, if you didn't know what he lifts and you didn't know who he was, and someone told you this guy benched almost 300 kilos, you're probably not going to believe him. He's got a close grip, he's got pretty long arms, but it just works. I absolutely love watching John compete. I love watching his preps. He's one of the most consistent lifters I've ever seen. And again, he's going up through the weight classes and smashing PBs, breaking all these world records at the same time. John is a good example of someone that outgrows a weight class and instead of trying to fight it, just moves forward and goes up to the next one where he's going to be stronger. He hasn't limited himself for a long time, but trying to compete at a certain weight because that's what he's always done. 272 kilos at under 100 kilos. I am in awe of this man. Like, my whole goal is to hopefully out total him one day in sleeves at like 30 kilos heavier. And I'm going to be proud of myself. Look at that. It's so dumb, so strong. And do you see what I mean, though? It's not like he's got a huge arch. It's not like his leverages favor the bench massively. I mean, obviously they do. He's a big bencher, but he's not what you think of when you think of a traditional bench presser. That's it. That's my goal. Out total John, no matter how much heavier I am, and I'll retire a very, very happy and proud man. The guy's a freak. You can't compare yourself to him. I get that a lot at my gym when people be like, oh, my squat, is only 220 and you squat 400. And I'm like, don't compare yourself to me. Like, there's no point. It's fine. We're at different points in our career. Well, that's me to Joh Haack. Like, I'm never going to compare myself to this guy because he's a freak and he's just not human. And that's it. I thought it would be a little bit of fun to go over my 5 favorite lists from 2022, try something a little bit different, and reminisce about how far the sport's come. Thanks heaps for watching. I'm going to go eat pizza. I legitimately ordered a New Yorker pizza for tonight.